Welcome back, my friends and viewing public, to the RMP, and welcome back, Banksy Jesus. Welcome back. I'm Zachary, your host of this motherfucking podcast. If you want to hit me up, you can always email me at zachary@therebelminded.com or check out my newsletter on Substack at therebelminded.substack.com. And we are here to question the mess, make some rebel actions, and start living a life on our own terms. And I want to know, how do we live life as our true selves? The self that will look into us at the end and ask us, did we do it all? And I've come to have a select few of people that I open up with about the things that I'm going through, and it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have a handful of people, 2 or 3 people that you kind of unfiltered go into discussion with about everything that's happening, and knowing that you can have those conversations just for the sake of figuring life out. And I've noticed over the years, not only have I just failed and made a bunch of mistakes and missed the mark a million times, but I've done it in a way that I unawareingly have found direction with, if that makes sense. That was a long fucking pause. But what I've noticed is that there's this massive pendulum swing. And one of the things that I know about myself is that my self-expression, the authentic version of my expression to the world, and for a lot of people, has been not correct. I think most of life is figuring ourselves out and how we're going to contribute to the tribe, no matter what tribe that is. I think it's the freedom, that's the liberty that we have with our self-expression, is going to the groups and communities and people that really matter the most, because there's so many things to pay attention to, and we each have our own niche, we each have our own direction, and I think the best part of life is trying to figure that out. Now, I have so much advantage because as the person that I am, alone in my own world, making all the choices, that are not made up by anybody else besides the government wanting me to pay taxes, is that I've had this freedom to jump into absolutely whatever I want. And the horrible part of it is I still haven't figured it out, but the opportunistic part of it is that I still am capable of doing that. My body and my mind aren't run down to a point. I have so many freedoms that other people don't, that have obligations and responsibilities that they have to take care of. And so it makes me feel bad sometimes, but I'm getting off track. What I've noticed, which I'm trying to get other people to notice, which is the whole point behind Question Everything, is that the more we try, the more we fail, we realize the pendulum swing that we're in, and we realize that the actions that we take help us settle into the gravitational pull of our center. And the old version of me, the 20s version of me, the teenage version of me, was completely conditioned and directed by the world around me. I had created a personality that was as unthreatening and most accommodating to the world as I knew it. I was molded by everyone else. And then at some point, which is what I'm coming out of now, is I went completely the other direction. I started to close everybody off. I started to question everyone else. I started to test everybody. I started to try to create as much alone time as I could to figure out my life. And that also was an extreme. I was cryptic with my messaging and my connection to people. I only let people in to a certain point. And I thought that was best for creating the most time that I possibly could for myself. I thought that was best for, creating silence that would help me find my purpose. But I also lost connection and perspective because I shut off community, because I shut off friends, because I was incapable of being real with people, because I had tested them so much and I made an assumption about the world around me. And I blanketed people as a whole on what they could do for me and their connection with me. I always felt like I was giving and not getting. And I'm starting to realize now that it's the pendulum has to come back down. And, the question is, do I have to go all the way back up to the other side, or, have I made some progress? And that's the very hard part, is if I open up, if I put everything that I am out there, am I resilient enough to handle the feedback? And and that's what hindsight is figuring out that we're capable of doing so much, and we're just building resiliency in order to better find ourselves and better find our connection to the people around us. So that's my abstract thought for today, but it'll kind of go into what I think that we're going to talk about. Give me just a second. I want to make sure I'm on the right track here. Yeah. So in other words, what I've been going through lately is like this sense of reflection, like trying to stoically separate myself from my emotional thoughts and my feelings about what life is and what I'm trying to do, and just stand back and see what progress actually looks like. Not so much what the authenticity of my expression is, but what progress looks like when it comes down to action, when it comes down to projection, when it comes to what it takes in reality to make actual tangible progress. And it's been helpful. It's, trying to close myself off from the world has had its pluses and minuses, but at least now I've gotten to a point where I feel like I'm more in control of where my mind is going. And I think that only happens when I'm repeatedly being consistent about my work and about this lifestyle and vision that I'm after. And I know a lot of people struggle with this, and that's why I'm saying this out loud, is because this is the tough part. This is what it takes to go to a 9-to-5 job that you may or may not be into, and deal with friends and family and pets. And Thor's doing great, by the way. And dealing with life and still being able to clearly see that you have goals, and not being frustrated and not being too doubtful, and acting on the things that will get you there, regardless of what percentage, if that's 0.0007% into becoming quote unquote successful. So, without any further ado, that's the intro for today. I hope that impacts you a little bit. Let's get to the questions for today. All right, this is episode 128. How important is it for people to see all of you? Is it human nature to hold back everything that is our best, or is it created by culture and modernized expectations? If we could be unafraid of full expression, could we feel more, act more, and be more? Wouldn't it change our levels of joy? Wouldn't it discredit our self-made assumptions? Would it make us more healthy internally, physically, and emotionally? If I could show all of myself, not just what I want to change in the world, but what is to be expected, could I then be more satisfied, more satiated by life? And what happens to me if I don't? What suffering is caused by a constant RPM, by the monotony and the comfort? How have we become so convinced by self-limitation? Is it modern family dynamics? Is it lack of support and surface level relationships? Is it the rush and impatience in today's life? Is it because of the fear of missing out and missing grandeur that steals us from love and presence and meaningful connections? If I tell everything about myself, will I finally find courage, confidence, power, influence, satisfaction, love, and novelty? So I think something I was trying to answer for myself here is kind of what I was talking about in the introduction for today was, is there a more colorful experience if we put everything about ourselves out into the world? Not in a victim sort of way, not in a complacent sort of way, not in a what's a good word here? In a pitiful sort of way, not in a way that is for asking something from the world, but in a discussion of the questions of the world. I think what I'm finding in myself is that I've had this abstract, indirect way of communicating with the world and not inputting my own experiences, not being okay with whatever my life looks like, because I'm afraid of how other people are going to see me. Am I keeping people out to keep myself safe in some sort of way? Am I making an excuse that I'm boring, my life isn't worth hearing? Am I afraid of seeming like a victim or seeming weak? And what do I mean by our best? Do I mean the most colorful, the most inquisitive, the most real? Like, how many things are going on in our own head that we're afraid to talk to anybody about because we're so sure that our thoughts are unique, that no one else is going to understand them, that no one else is going to be able to connect with us on them. And something I think I've figured out is that we assume too much that we know the thoughts of others, how people see us and how they'd react to us. And there is some proof. Yes, I personally test people, and I've said this out loud, probably on the podcast multiple times. I test people, whether they realize it or not. I say things in order to see how close they really are to me, or how dedicated they are to stepping in deeper with me. And I've had a lot of people fall short, people that I've decided to cut off. But is that enough to hold myself back? Enough to be resentful of other people? Enough to assume that it's not worth presenting parts of my thoughts or curiosities or whatever other things I think people could care less about? And this big one is, what happens if I don't? I think I'm starting to see the horribleness of my cryptic nature, the horribleness of keeping myself from expressing my own thoughts and curiosities, insecurities, and just randomness of my own brain. And just because I think that I know people, I think I have to hold or maintain this barrier. And it's just because I've seen where I have proof of where others can't meet me halfway. But I'm a hypocrite of my own words. We can't stereotype or blanket people, whether it be minorities or any group, or just our assumptions about what people think or can't do for us. And so I'm wondering if the insight or the value that I'm trying to give, especially connected to the rebel-minded way of thinking, this whole question everything is like, are we questioning our assumptions about the world around us enough? Are we falling short of our potential because we've assumed that we know the way that the world is going to react? Are we holding back parts of our story? Are we throwing out only pieces of ourselves because we think those are the only parts of us that are worth it, the most valuable parts about our lives and the connections that other people are going to get from us? Are we holding a lot of other things back in the dark just because we assume their value? So, for example, I met somebody new this last weekend, which I'm hoping ends up being an awesome new friend here in Austin. But I remember talking to her and over coffee, talking about podcasting and podcast setup, and she's actually a lot farther along than she's prepared, more than I expected, which is fantastic. But we were talking through things, and I felt myself wanting to use part of my own story about my father, which you guys have heard me talk about repeatedly through the podcast, and the trouble that I've had with that. I had a problem telling those things to her. Number one, because I've said it so much. It started to sound like this part of my life that I was using to justify my way of thinking and my projections in life. And number two, because as a male, I still have residue of like thinking that if I present this problem, then it seems like I can't handle myself, that I'm weak in some sort of aspect. And to present this to a woman, which, does not have any romantic factor at all at this point. That has no romantic factor at all in it. Will it be a turnoff? Like, will this mean that this person doesn't want to talk to me anymore? That I don't seem powerful enough in my own message or my own life investments, in my own desires to be the person that I want to be? And that super sucks, especially in the moment, because you're impulsively trying to decide whether in the next few seconds or not you're going to present information to somebody. And I think the only thing that made me did was I had the thought of how repeatedly I've been cryptic, how repeatedly I've held back information just because I haven't had other people show up for me the way that I thought they would. Even my own father, like he didn't, the insecurities that I have about certain things, like he didn't show up in the ways that I thought he would. And so can I get over myself? Can I keep myself from holding back? Not in a way that I repeatedly victimize myself and talk about the same fucking problem over and over, but can I throw it out in passing so that they better understand me without having a judgment on what that relationship will be, or without having a judgment on myself about my own weakness or my own insecurities or my own falsehoods. And I think this is kind of what I'm trying to get at more and more when it comes to authenticity and self-expression is, are we capable of being ourselves 100% of the time out in the world, not to have this 360 conditioned presentation, but as we experience life and as parts and pieces of new opportunity come into our lives, whether it be relationships, whether it be opportunities, whether it be, I don't know, absolutely anything. Can we just be our real selves without it being conditioned? Can we do it without being worried about our authenticity? Can we do it without being worried about what other people are going to think? Can we go out into life naturally and it not being some sort of proposal? Maybe that's the biggest thing right now. And so I'll leave that with you guys to think about, because I think that's becoming more and more important is what does it mean to be natural? What does it mean to question things even in the moments, with other people or by ourselves? Can we question these things and become more objective to the world so that we are tracking on our success, that we are acting out on the lives that we want to create? All right. We'll leave it at that. Thanks to Jesus. Have a good day. I love you all. I'll see you guys on Substack. I'll see you guys on the next podcast. Thor and I say hi. Thor, speak. Hey. Eyeball roll. Okay, I love you all. Stay strong. Stay rebel-minded. Peace. I'm out. Hey guys. I hope that all things we've brought here, including the people, have helped you change the way that you see the world. And if it has, then it would help us so much if you leave a rating and a comment on iTunes, or give any feedback wherever you listen to the RMP. Thank you for listening in, and don't forget to follow and subscribe. Question everything, my friends.